All right, peace, good day, guys. Yours truly, Rob Diaz, always out in nature. Here we are at a coastal scrub in South Florida, and you guys have heard me use that word scrub quite a bit when I talk about some of the environments and locations in which I go to. But for those who do not know, a scrub is a area, a ridge, somewhere along the coast where you have a group of native evergreen trees growing. Typically not just Christmas trees. So when I say evergreens, I'm not just talking about the pines, but you got evergreens growing on some type of sandy, infertile soil in a ridge-like setting. And typically in a natural environment, you're gonna see a canopy of pine trees. Now, these pine trees that you see here are typically two species known as the sand pine and the longleaf pine. Sometimes you will see the slash pine. And guys, remember, pine trees are conifers. They're part of the monocot, and their needles are technically the leaves. So we determine the species by the amount of leaves or needles they have, 2 or 3 typically. Some species do have pairs of 4. But we're at the Seacreast Coastal Scrub. And just so you can be familiar with some of the native environment of plants, I'm going to show you guys as I go through this little coastal scrub area. Hey, there you have looks like a little anole perched on top of the gate right there, posing his little dewlap fan and doing his little mating dance ritual. And sometimes they do that as a defense mechanism, guys, just to say, hey, look at me, I'm bigger than you, get out of here. Okay, so the first thing we have here growing, as you can see, is known as our wonderful Serenoa repens, and this is also common name saw palmetto. You'll find these saw palms, which are native to South Florida and the Carolinas, all throughout these coastal scrub, guys, as they can tolerate the lack of nutrients in the soil. As you look down, you'll see this is pure sand. Okay, I'll show you guys an example right here. You know, this is pure sand. You're not gonna find any much organic matter. The pH of the sand is acidic, of course. You may get some also, you're gonna probably see a lot of the acidity due to the pine needles and the pine bark. So if we look a little closer, we'll see we have some wonderful seaside daisy. Okay, and these are in the Asteraceae family, daisy family, sunflower. But this is a native that you don't find too much growing here. I don't know why more and more people are not growing this in their garden or yard instead of going to Home Depot buying all those junk plants. But this is a wonderful native. The native Seminole tribes use this in herbal medicine, and don't quote me on those properties yet, because I'm not 100% familiar, but I do have a little bit of understanding of this one. So there's 2 we just went over. Here's another one, guys, and this is an invasive. It's not a native, but this is known as privet. This is the privet vine, and you can see we've got this alternate leaf structure here. There's even some berries. If you look a little closer, you'll see there's some privet berries growing. These are known as glossy privet. Again, invasive here in South Florida. In the privet vine, take a look at that. If you can identify it, it almost looks the same, but this is a completely different plant growing. This too is also somewhat invasive, but it is native. This is in the Smilax family, aka greenbrier. Briars, that would be your sarsaparilla root. Okay, so there you have it, all entangled on the fence post there. But let's continue to look along and see what else are some of the plants that are obvious and common in the coastal scrub. Again, the community where you're gonna find your native species. And notice, okay, take notice, you don't see all those crazy palm trees. Okay, a lot of the palm trees that you see in South Florida have been planted here. You're not going to see people planting things like, you know, the saw palmetto or even the cabbage or sable palm, which is also another native here in Florida. Here we have a pine, correction. This is our oak, maybe scrub oak. I'm not 100% sure, live oak, but they do thrive here. Look at that. As you can see, the ants have done some little nesting there, probably creating a parasitic like environment for whatever they're trying to attract there. But these guys grow quite a bit, and you know, they'll continue to grow up into full-size trees like the one you see right here. But here's one of the problems, guys. These scrubs are subject to fires that naturally will cleanse and clean up a lot of the shrubbery in the lower story, so like here in the ground and then going up a little bit. And if you notice, okay, that's a normal function because the pine trees you'll see here are clean, their trunks are clean, and what they do is drop those lower branches and try to reach for the top because of the fires that naturally will come throughout the summer months and clear out a lot of this brush. So you get this overgrowth of brush now, which competes for some of the native plants because some of these are evasives. You come over here, you take a look. I think this is grape. We see this growing a lot. Yeah, this is wild grapevine. I wouldn't eat these, you know, just because of the conditions of the soil here, but the birds love them. But things like this growing, you know, these things naturally in a setting controlled by nature, again, not being, you know, regulated and trimmed and controlled by man, but in a setting of nature, this would all be burnt down, right? And there would be more room for things like those palmettos to grow, which are native here, and they're struggling and reaching to get sunlight, as you can see here in the bush. Let's see what else we got in here, guys. So much that most people don't even know living here in South Florida. There you go. You can see some immature grapes right there, some drupes starting to come out, and that's your wild grape. And those will be making grapes here probably the next month for the birds to go ahead and gobble up. They love those things. So getting back to these pine trees, again, you'll notice that there's not much of tree branches in the lower portion of the trunk compared to other pines, and that's a natural process that these trees go through to drop their lower branches so that when the fires do come through, they don't burn up. That bark that you see on there is very tough, flaky, scaly. It really protects that inner cambium and that soft sapwood of these pines. So there you have it. And I think we'll go and take a look at some of the information they have here. As you can see, this is the Seacreast Scrub, and we've got a nice hiking trail inside this scrub. So what they do here in South Florida and a lot of other places in Florida is basically dedicate land, you know, which before we started to develop on as natural areas, or they say as conservation areas. And this is their way of trying to protect the natural environment, because again, like I said, guys, old world Florida looked like this. This is what South Florida looked like before development, before the introduction of all the foreign palms, all the gated communities, and all the racket and nonsense that goes along with that society lifestyle. But this is what Mother Nature has provided in this environment, and it's starting to not look like this. So we have to remember this is the natural environment around us. Now, one thing I will say, if you notice, these saw palms over here have this greenish, bluish tint to them, like nice, it's got like that creamy effect compared to the ones over here, which are more limey green. A lot of that has to do with being close to the coast, and I can't say why these have that function and feature rather than these. But you will see, what I learned is that the palmettos, which are closer to the coast, so we're about roughly 1.5 miles west of the coast. The coast is this direction east, going out to the Atlantic Ocean. You'll see that the salt, okay, the salt spray, from what I understand, will contribute to bring this color. And as you go more farther west, you know, out toward the Everglades, the saw palmettos develop that darker green color, if you will. Moving right along, if we come over here, we'll notice we've got some old man's beard, aka Eucena moss. And this is a parasitic plant which grows on a lot of the oaks, the turkey oaks that you find, grows in the south all over the place. It's medicinal. I don't use it medicinally quite often, but it grows just in abundance and hangs from those beautiful oak trees as you see in a lot of the movies which are filmed in the south. We also got some wonderful fungus growing here. Very common lichen fungus, lichen tree fungus. It's beautiful, beautiful color and pigment. And also, take a close look here, guys. What you're looking at are the flowers of the saw palm. Go in there and take a close look. See if we got any pollinators. Yeah, that's the new noise you get from all the people who relocated from up north. They like to make noise. So, you know, leaving New York wasn't good enough. They still have to bang on the horn. Just look at that. And these are a great flower for pollinators, okay? Because we do make palmetto honey. I've seen that in the store in some of the markets. Hey, look, there's a honeybee right there, working effortlessly, pollinating. See, you got, what about 4? Looks like 4 stigma. And the flower opens up with 4 or 5 petals. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so we're gonna go inside, see if we come across any other wildlife here. Now, this scrub is the home of the gopher tortoise, I will say. And gopher tortoises, guys, are native to South Florida. They've been here for a very, 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 very long time. I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of years, but these guys have evolved and they can live in this South Florida environment with no problem at all, by the way. So there's a fence here I'm opening up because, you know, this keeps the turtles from crawling out and getting hit by people who like to honk their horns out in the street. But one interesting thing I will tell you about these gopher turtles is that they burrow deep, deep, deep down into the ground. And maybe we'll see a burrow site here. I've seen quite a few of them. I've even seen them out on the ground when I come to do nature walks. But these guys are just amazing. I mean, their burrow, as you see here, it's telling you to watch your step. Don't mess with these guys, they're protected. But their burrow provides habitats for other animals like snakes, field mice, frogs. It's just amazing. Amazing ecosystem here, and so many people have no idea, and it's constantly being destroyed by very obnoxious, nasty people who don't care about nature, right? So this is why I'm taking the time to share this, because it's very informative, and hopefully it serves as a basis to educate those who may be looking to seek additional information about some of the natural environment growing in their environment. So the goal is to educate. Number one, the goal is to inform, to be aware, and to also share any special secrets, if you will, that may be out here. So here's another one we got. This is again very small size oak tree, guys, and typically this is how the oaks grow, and they shouldn't be getting tall in the tree like structures, especially when growing out here in these natural environments. A lot of overgrowth, as you can see. The good thing about this scrub is they do have this paved path. However, you can go off on other non-paved paths. I've gone quite a far distance out here, just looking to see what we got growing. Hey, look at that. Okay, this is another one. You see these nice shiny pinnate leaves down here. This is known as wild coffee, and this is really small batch here. There were flowers that were growing actually right there. Now you can see they're getting ready to turn into berries or fruit. But we have a ton of this stuff growing all over the place. There goes that smilax vine. Okay, there's your sarsaparilla root, guys. You know, you dig that up, you'll be here all day trying to get those roots out of the ground, because those things go deep, 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 deep down into this. And it's not truly soil, right? It's a scrub. It's a scrub of sand, which has no nutrients, even though you've got nitrogen, you know, from the leaves and the structures, but a lot of that stuff decomposes on the top surface, and you don't get much going into the ground. Look at this here, is a full-size wild coffee shrub, if you will. Beautiful. This is the type of stuff people need to be planting in their yards. They make great shrub size. You know, you can manage this as a hedge. It puts out these beautiful berries and white flowers that eventually these green berries that you see down here will turn red. So native, right? Native, you don't have to worry about invasive species taking over your yard and all kind of wild and crazy things like that. So just wanted to share a little bit about the coastal scrubs of South Florida and some of the different natives and possibly invasives that you'll find here, and understanding these ecosystems and in your own backyard and how they can benefit supporting the eco function lifestyle. Okay, we need to tune in, and that's what it's about, supporting a connection with nature. Gonna share one more. If we come over here, we've got another very common plant. This is known as Biden's alba species, or Biden's pilosa, aka hairy beggar's tick or Spanish needles. You're gonna find this growing all over South Florida, just about everywhere. It could be on disturbed lots, scrubs, coastal forests. Really common. A lot of people do use this. Can be used in native medicine. Okay, it's something that I do collect and have in a collection. You got some antibacterial, antiviral compounds in there. Now, moving right along, look at this, guys. And I have to share because I haven't seen this quite a bit, but we're looking at that wonderful Florida beautyberry. Look at that. Okay, this is another native. Again, you don't find it too much out here, but when you do, you got to take advantage and just recognize and look at the environment in which it's growing. The Florida beautyberry, okay, Florida beautyberry is a native. The Native Americans use this in their medicine. This is another one that attracts pollinators. It puts out these beautiful purple berries. Look at the pigment. Look at those anthocyanin compounds. Where else are you gonna find that? Look how beautiful that is. Okay, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Always out in nature. Yours truly, Rob Diaz. Have a good one.